Hey, how you all going? Haven't done a video for a while, so I thought I'd better jump on and do something. Um, Today, I want to talk about woke because I've been accused of using that term a bit too much. Apparently, for using it because I don't like things. Every time I don't like something, I call it woke. Well, that's just a fucking stupid statement. Even though it was supported by a pretty funny meme, which I give credit for, because the left usually don't have great memes, or the extreme left. But I actually found it funny. It was something about a complete dickhead's guide to being woke, or something like that. Anyway, um, but anyway, I want to talk about it a bit because I quite often get asked when I throw out the word woke, what is woke? I'll get into that in a little bit. But first, the main way I generally want to respond to that um, is by a return question of what is a woman? You generally find that someone that can't answer that question as per the dictionary definition and scientific definition, they're probably woke, right? They're probably woke. They probably also want um, tampons in men's bathrooms and silly stuff like that. But anyway, let's get back to woke. So I just spoke about definitions of woke. So let's go there. Let's ask AI. So AI tells us the term woke originally meant being alert and actively aware of systemic racial and social injustices. Today it is a highly polarized word that can describe a progressive worldview or be used as a derogatory label for performative politics and excessive political correctness. So note that end bit, because that's pretty important. That's where it gets used a lot by people like myself, um, and others that um, look at the world in a much more straightforward view and that don't run around getting upset about everything on other people's behalves. And I actually don't know how some people manage to be as woke as they are. It must be hard work, like walking around looking for something to be upset about on someone else's behalf. Um, and the funny thing is, you hear more from these people than you do from the people that it apparently offends, um, which speaks for itself. But let's go back to a historical origin of woke. So the definition spoke about it and said actively aware of systemic racial injustices. It adds social there as well because socials come into it. And I guess social is part of the original, where it came from. Um, Social injustices based on race, right? So originally, back in the early 1900s, the phrase "stay woke" was used in African American vernacular to mean being alert to racial prejudice, discrimination, and the dangers of a segregated society. Now, we no longer live in a segregated society. Um, Most modern Western countries don't. Um, Other parts of the world still have that in place, or something of the sort in place. Yet, us Western countries are usually the ones being accused of being the most racist, even though we do live in multicultural societies. And in general, apart from completely extreme right wing groups, neo Nazi groups, um, I don't think that Australia or the US are really racist countries. There's always exceptions, though, right? There's always exceptions. Anyway, let's move forward a long way from the early 1900s because that's before my time and before most people watching this time. pretty much say anyone watching this, it's going to be before your time. If you're early 1900s and you're still kicking it in 2026, you're doing something right, um, or something wrong. You're not enjoying your life. I don't know. Let's not go there. But let's jump to 2000, the 2010s. So the term gained massive mainstream popularity alongside the Black Lives Matter movement, signaling an awakened consciousness to police brutality and marginalized rights. All right. So that's when the woke thing in its current form started not coming about, but being more well known, because we have a thing called the internet these days, and everyone started throwing it around, whether in a good way from the left or a bad way from the right. Now, where it has now gone since originally being based on racial segregation, and then further on 2010 with the Black Lives Matter movement, which was just violent and destructive. Even though I think they call it the Summer of Love or something like that, which doesn't make sense. But it happened. Cities were shut down, trashed, burnt, all sorts of shit, apparently to make things better. Whether or not that worked is, I guess, in the eye of the beholder. What do you think? Did it work? Did it not? Did it further divide people? Um, Let me know what you think. But go back to stepping forward with the whole woke movement, right? So originally it's about racial prejudice and segregation. What's happened in the last 10 to 15 years, though, is it's then shifted to include a whole heap of other groups, minority groups, right? Or as they will call them, minority groups. So it now also includes social injustices against trans people, um, Muslims with Islamophobia, um, women, um, all the other letters of the LGBTQ A B C D E F G, whatever the hell it is now, however many of them it is, um, and pretty much every other race on the planet, um, and gender on the planet, apart from whites and specifically white males. So, in a way, it's quite a bigoted point of view, isn't it? That everyone else in the world requires some kind of, I guess, added protection, against the big bad white man. Now, I don't want to make it all about that, because I think it's fucking stupid to begin with. But now everyone in this world is seen as a victim. Everyone, apart from white men in this world, are seen as victims. And the people on the woke bandwagon are now always constantly, like I previously said, looking for something to get upset about on someone else's behalf, right? And not only just that, but looking to give every other person on the planet, again, apart from white males, extra privileges or extra rights. Now, they, the woke, will say, well, no, we're not trying to give anyone extra privileges or extra rights. But in fact, they are. Because if you can actually make me a list of the rights that any of those groups I mentioned, anyone else but white males, any rights that they don't have that white males have, I'd be interested to see that list so we can go through them one by one. Because I can't think of anything in modern Western world, modern Western countries, where every individual in those countries, what should I specify there and say legal citizens or legal immigrants, because illegal immigrants are a separate story, right? That's a whole other discussion. We can have that one another day. But what are those rights that all of these groups don't have? What are the rights we're all standing up for? What are all the things that we need to protect all these people from that they're not already protected by with their rights as a citizen in their given countries? What are those rights? Throw them in the comments below. Let's have a chat about it. But where should I go further with this woke thing? Like I said, people always ask for a definition. I wanted to give a definition. I wanted to give some history on it and where it's at now. And where it's at now is fucking crazy because it's just a whole heap of oversensitive people getting upset all the time about just about fucking everything that anyone says that doesn't conform to whatever woke bandwagon they're jumping on at the current moment. And the unfortunate thing is when someone doesn't 100% agree, and I mean 100% agree because you can be in these woke groups and woke circles. And the thing is, unless you do 100% agree with absolutely everything, you're probably going to get shifted out because you then, I don't know, get labeled as things like a Nazi or a bigot or a racist or a homophobe or a transphobe or you name the phobe, the shit that everyone's apparently scared of, which no one is really scared of any of those things. I don't think, but that's a whole other discussion that we did previously have too. But kind of lost my train of thought now because I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Apart from reading that AI definition, the screen's right there. You see me looking over that way, so you know what's going on. But I'm just kind of sick and tired of the extreme woke, you know, um, jumping up and down about everything. And look, I do stir the pot. It's kind of what I do. If you've followed me on social media at all since pretty much Facebook started in 2007 or something, I think it was. It's kind of what I do. Um, I do have fun with it. People have said, "Oh, why do how is this fun to you? You're upsetting people." I said, no, I'm not fucking upsetting people. People are upsetting themselves. And I do like to have discussions about these things. And sometimes you do have to upset people a little bit to get into a discussion about it. Problem is with the woke community is that once you do upset them, it's just an instant tantrum. And it generally ends in name calling and insults. It's the first go to of the woke. Like I said, you disagree with them, you're instantly a racist. Even if you state facts, you're a racist, or a homophobe or Islamophobe or whatever, transphobe, whatever phobe you want to throw in there. Like I said, there's a million of them. We all get called. Now, I'm kind of glad to see that in the States at the moment, there does seem to be some kind of good shift away from the whole woke thing. It seems to be winding back a bit. Um, I guess initially when I saw it really grow some legs was in that first Trump term. that's when shit just basically started going wild with it, and the extreme side of it came in. And then obviously that was just, it just exploded even more during the Biden term. I mean, shit was absolutely out of control. It's all starting to wind back now in the US, which is good. And it's not overcorrecting either. So I guess if that did overcorrect, then you would start seeing actual racism and homophobia, Islamophobia. And look, you do see that in small pieces. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be there's gonna be people always that have those beliefs um, in certain groups or certain cultures or certain countries, but they're like this much. And most of us agree that those people are dickheads. Um, Even the ones that get called racist, we agree that um, certain people actually are. Now, I'm just hoping Australia catches up a bit quicker um, with it than we currently are, because we still seem to be a little bit stuck behind. Um, I know our Prime Minister is getting heaps of grief at the moment himself from being a little bit too woke. Um, I don't know about him, to be honest. I don't follow it too much. There are some things he's doing that I don't really agree with, but there's always things that I don't agree with just about every politician, including, I will say, Pauline Hanson, because apparently I'm now One Nation supporter or something. People have been throwing that at me for a little while now. I don't know why. I think Pauline Hanson is fucking batshit crazy. Um, but in that craziness, she does sometimes say some stuff that makes sense. She's a bit like Trump in that way, because Trump is a bit batshit crazy too. They're both very similar in that um, they say every thought that comes into their head at the time. There's no cut-off valve there. There's nothing for them to say, maybe I shouldn't say that while I'm thinking it. Maybe I should try and reword that better. But in a way, that's kind of a good thing, because a lot of politicians do beat around the bush and bullshit you just to hear you say the right thing. Now, again, I'm not saying that I support Pauline Hanson. I don't. I don't know who I'm gonna support in the next election. To be honest, I had trouble in the last election. I've generally always been a Labor supporter. Um, I've always sat pretty much just left of the centre on the political spectrum, which now makes me far right. Well, why people say I'm far right. That's just because the left has actually shifted so far left that anyone close to centre is now far right, which we're not. There's a whole heap of us out there that sit in the middle. We all want the same things. We all want the best for people. The problem is we disagree on what is the best way to get us there. So anyway, if you've listened to this far through this whole video, it's now up to about 18 minutes or something. Add your thoughts below. Let's have a chat about it. Probably the first comments I'll get will be from woke people getting upset. That's not unusual. Um, the one thing I will note, and I've thought about this recently, is it seems that the most positive people in society, who would be the woke, would claim themselves to be the most positive, because they're always looking out for people. They always want the best for people. They're always fighting other people's battles, always getting upset for everyone else. I've noticed that those people are always the ones to comment first negatively. So rather than look through things you've said and try and find common ground and discuss them, because we've all got common ground, like I said, we all generally want the best for people. And that's where we should start. It always goes to the negative. it generally goes to calling people names. It generally goes to insults, and it's a strange take. It's not a strange take, but it's a strange occurrence, I guess. But it does kind of sit in with the fact, and I'm going to say fact, that the left these days are far more violent than the right. So, left wing protests, for example, generally end up in some kind of violence. Now, the left wing protesters or the woke protesters will blame generally police brutality for that kind of thing. But I mean, that's another, again, that's a whole other discussion. But if you're protesting peacefully and the police get involved and assault you for no reason, yes, that's police brutality. But if you're breaking the law while you're protesting, which most of the time they are, could be burning stuff in public, could be insulting police officers, it could be assaulting other people in the vicinity, someone that's a right wing Nazi that you don't agree with. If that kind of shit's going on, the police are going to get involved. And if you don't follow lawful orders by the police, you're probably going to end up getting arrested. Like, I've been arrested a couple of times in my life. I've never been assaulted by the police because when your time's up, your fucking time's up. Like, if you're busted for doing something wrong, fucking stop. You know, if they give you an opportunity to stop, you know, either stop this or I'm going to arrest you. Wouldn't the fucking smart thing be to stop rather than make an idiot out of yourself, get violent, argue the point, and then cry when you get assaulted? Anyway, that went a bit sideways then, but all right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to start doing a few more of these. I might even get professional about it at some point, actually make some notes and edit some videos and chop it all together all nicely. But for the moment, this will do. I do want to give a quick shout out to DJI, who are the company that supply my gimbal, my selfie stick thing that I'm recording on now. It has a tripod base on it that folds up so you can sit it there. I've had some issues with recordings where I was getting a hissing sound over my voice, which seemed to be some kind of compression or gain setting on the microphone, which you can't change in the iPhone. They've been very helpful the whole time that I sent my gimbal to them to get looked at. They couldn't find what was wrong. They sent it back. They also sent me a brand new one to try out. That again didn't work. They couldn't figure out the problem. I sent that back. They sent me another brand new one to try and sort it out. And it's gone backwards and forwards. And they also gave me some gifts. They sent me a water bottle, a couple of nice tote bags, and an umbrella. They just sent me an umbrella as well. They were very helpful through the process. What it comes down to is figuring out some kind of Bluetooth issue within the actual iPhone. But I just want to give them full props for helping me out along the way. They've actually let me keep the second gimbal that they've sent me, so we know there's actually no problems with the DJI Osmo 6 mobile devices. It's a problem with my iPhone. We've tested it with other phones, and it doesn't do the same thing. But they've been super fucking helpful. And then when I spoke to them yesterday, we couldn't figure it out. They said, "Look, take my phone into Apple, see what they can do with it." And I asked them, "Oh, look, can I, any chance, or how can I get a new tripod and a new phone clip to go with the second gimbal?" And being the nice people that they are, they said, we'll send you one free of charge, which is fucking amazing. Like, this thing I bought is 3 years old. It's way out of warranty. They did not need to help me at all, but they have. And I'm stoked about it. And I just wanted to say thank you to DJI Mobile. Yeah, so you can see I've got this thing on my shirt here, which gets rid of the audio issues. So recording through that, through my iPhone, I don't have that issue. Recording through my iPhone just in the camera app, I don't have that issue, but for some reason, the iPhone Bluetooth connection doesn't like the DJI Mimo app. And it's not an iPhone problem either. Like as a whole, it's something wrong with my phone. Probably because it's been dropped 10 times, had replacement batteries, replacement screens, all that shit. There's probably something wrong inside. Anyway, that's it. I blabbed on for too long now. Yeah. Have a good night's sleep and don't wake up woke.